Nipsey Hussle, the legacy of a mentality. Crenshaw, a neighborhood famous for its vibrant cultural diversity and great art scene, but also marked by its violent streets. This is the place where a young boy of Eritrean heritage grew and forged his character. This environment also awakened a burning passion within him, a cause that'll motivate him for the rest of his life. Ask anyone in the rap scene which artist has truly uplifted their community, and they'll probably all mention Nipsey Hussle. Where others saw only violence and despair, he saw hope. Let's see what made Nip such a remarkable figure, whose mentality will continue to inspire even future generations. Welcome to Hustlers in the Hood. Crenshaw's boy. Nipsey Hussle, born Ermias Joseph Asghedom, was a rapper and entrepreneur who rose to fame from humble beginnings in the Crenshaw neighborhood of Los Angeles. Born on August 15, 1985, to parents Angelique Smith and DeWitt Asghedom, an Eritrean immigrant, Nipsey would later become a symbol of hope and inspiration for his community. Nip's parents divorced when he was only little, causing him to grow up with his mother and grandmother. It was here he discovered his inner entrepreneur, hitting the streets with hustle by selling various goods and even shining shoes for $2.50. Like countless folks in wild neighborhoods, Nip found himself drawn to the sense of brotherhood and safety offered by local gangs. And despite attending Alexander Hamilton High School, Nipsey dropped out just before his graduation at 14 to roll with the Rolling 60s Crips gang. But tell you what, 3 years later, after witnessing the realities of street life, he chose to follow his true passion, music.
Now first,
His vibrant journey into music took off as he joined Dexter Brown's Buttervision, a media company. Here, he immersed himself in the confronting world of music production, honing his skills and contributing to exciting projects like the BV Boys Sampler, Beats and Babes Volume 1 DVD, and Shades of Butter Volume 1 DVD. While he was holding it down at Buttervision, he was nicknamed Nipsey Hussle by a childhood friend, who combined the name of the comedian and game show panelist Nipsey Russell with Nipsey's work ethic as a straight-up hustler. Some creative stuff right there, yeah? But Nipsey had just stepped out of the gang culture when his father had a genius idea: to take Nipsey and his brother Samuel on a mind-blowing 3-month trip to Eritrea in 2004. Why? To teach the young kings about their roots. This trip turned out to be a major turning point in Nipsey's life, sparking something powerful and setting the young musician off on his journey to greatness. Eritrea. Mr. DeWitt, Nipsey's father, had looked around, saw the environment his kids were growing up in, and knew he had to do something. He didn't want them going down the wrong path, stuck in that toxic bubble in LA. DeWitt managed to convince his sons to take an amazing trip, and together they went all the way to Africa.
I wasn't ready for it, for real.
Oh, damn.
I wasn't, but then it changed my life. I wanted to go because I never met none of my family.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to stay for 90 days. But 90 days is a long time.
Ermias, sleepy guy, how you doing?
But when I got there, I went through a process.
For 3 whole months, the young Asghedom brothers soaked up the pure vibes of Eritrea, connecting with their roots, spiritual side, and even their inner children.
Oh, no,
I think I had like culture shock a little bit.
Yeah.
Not because I wasn't aware of my culture. My dad raised me on the food, the music.
Yeah.
He speak the language fluently, but just in terms of lifestyle.
Hanging out with the African side of his family changed his perspective on life in many ways. More than anything, my respect for women, he confessed on the Breakfast Club show.
I didn't think it was, but when I went out there and I seen how how different the dynamic was.
With the women and the men, how they
Yeah,
interacted with
and
each
even
other.
me, after being out there a month, I was ready to kill behind my female homegirls. You better not play with them. You better not play with my cousins. I'll do something to you behind these women, because just the confidence they had in supporting me and taking care of me.
Hussle had an incredible connection with Eritrea, and it wasn't just about diving into a fresh culture. The homeland of his father stuck with him over time, shaping his way of thinking about life back home. It was like a spark igniting his journey of self-discovery, a complete mindset shift, and the kickoff to his marathon. Something truly special. The prolific young man. After Nipsey returned to Los Angeles from Eritrea, the 19-year-old was filled with the determination to start making his own music. But to make it happen, he needed top-notch studio gear. So, after thinking it over for a few days, he made a bold move, selling his cherished Lincoln car to a friend, a decision that he later described as the best flip he ever made in his life.
You know, I was sitting on my Lincoln, I started thinking, I'm talking about that car. And basically I hit one of my boys, D-Mac, who been asking me about the car. And I'm like, man, we still wanna buy? He like, yep. I'm like, you ready right now? He pulled up on me with a bag of money, sold him the car, went to the Guitar Center, bought my equipment. And I was a rapper after that.
In the following year, Nip fearlessly pursued his dreams by independently releasing his debut mixtape, Slauson Boy Volume 1. Although the mixtape received recognition only locally, it was just the first step towards something much bigger. In 2007, Nipsey decided to broaden his horizons and explore acting, landing a minor role in the film Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. Fast forward to a year later, he joined forces with Cinematic Music and Epic Records, where he released his first two mixtapes, Bullets Ain't Got No Names. But things weren't all smooth sailing for the young rapper. His record company failed to provide the financial support he needed, so he took matters into his own hands. Nipsey hit the streets of Los Angeles, plastering posters and selling his mixtapes right out of the trunk of his car at the legendary intersection of Slauson Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard.
In like 2002, 2003, I was stapling posters, me and my brothers, all through the city in 04. It's 011, we still doing it. And I'm young, you know what I'm saying, just because we started young, but I don't expect it to be overnight.
Soon, his hard work started to pay off, and his music started gaining serious popularity around 2008 and 2010, catching the attention of some heavy hitters in the industry, including the one and only Snoop Dogg. But hey, in 2010, Epic Records hit a rough patch financially and went through some major changes. That meant Nipsey had to part ways with the label. Now, most folks would have been discouraged by such a setback, but not Nipsey. He faced a tough choice once again, one that could either skyrocket his musical journey or wipe away everything he had worked so hard for up to that point. Nipsey always had this vision of starting his own label right from the get-go, but he never expected to have to take that leap so early on in his career. Talk about risk. Then came the moment in 2010 when Nipsey gathered up most of the cash he had earned from his mixtapes, and with his brother Black Sam by his side, they founded something special, All Money In Records. Hussle broke free from Epic Records and took charge of his own destiny, paving the way for a brand that truly represented his independence and entrepreneurial spirit. It wasn't all smooth sailing at the start, as he faced both victories and setbacks like any other business. But All Money In emerged as a crucial milestone in Nipsey's journey, shaping his career and building his brand. Meanwhile, as his popularity skyrocketed, Nipsey seized the chance to shine on the big screen once again, this time alongside the legendary Ving Rhames in the electrifying film, The Wrath of Cain. In that very year, Hussle dropped his first major project under his own label, The Marathon. This mixtape had heads nodding and critics raving, recognizing Nipsey's talent for bringing back those West Coast hip-hop vibes from back in the day. Marathon became a true representation of Nipsey's unwavering pursuit of greatness, his determination to rise above every obstacle, a symbol of his brand and way of life. The Marathon concept is about setting lofty goals and being willing to work hard and be patient and do things on your own terms, he said.
He's a marathon, And it just stands for endurance. It stands for staying down. It stands for like not quitting, accepting the ups and downs of whatever game you commit yourself to and riding it out. I think that anybody could apply the marathon concept to what they do, if it's sports, if it's fashion, if it's music, if it's hustling, whatever. You on a marathon, you know? So, you know, we honor the people that ain't quit. We honor the people that stay down.
Unlike many rappers who are all about flashy jewelry and the superficial side of fame, Nipsey had a whole different game plan. He was a true hustler, always looking for ways to multiply his money and make a positive impact by inspiring people.
I believe in you work with what you got, man. I was never a robber. I was always a hustler. You could watch what other people doing and it'll start poisoning your process and you want to skip steps. When I didn't have a deal, we did mixtapes.
Yeah.
That's what we could do. We could buy some equipment, pay a producer to use the beat, and put it out. Instead of saying, oh, I can't do nothing, let me go just rush to somebody for some help. Work within the realm of what you got access to, and that was mixtapes.
Yeah.
And when I didn't have the internet or no fan base that cared, we was out the trunk with it. I just believe in being, you know, embracing what you got around you, you know? And as your resources grow, level up, but there's never no excuse to not work.
With this mindset, he approached business and music differently, which was only sometimes mass consumable. Attesting to his mentality, DJ Head, co-host of Homegrown Radio on Real 92.3 in Los Angeles, stated that it took him a long time to fully comprehend what Nip stood for, adding that his intellectual depth required a certain level of bandwidth to understand. In the year after, Hussle released his sequel, The Marathon Continues, featuring YG and Dom Kennedy, and also teamed up with Rick Ross the following year on the banging single, Proud of That. In 2013, Nipsey formed the Marathon Agency with his business partners Karen Civil and Jorge Paniche, a talent-based brand that attracted a diverse clientele in different career stages, headed by Steve Carless. Carless summed it up perfectly when he said, "Most artists are just trying to live the dream of getting a record deal." He was so different because he wasn't out here trying to get a record deal. He was out here trying to figure out how to scale his business. The Boss Move. Moving on to a key moment in Nip's career that shook up the rap scene at the time, let's talk about his mixtape, Crenshaw. Nipsey's Crenshaw mixtape was a game changer, not only because of the notable artists it featured, but his innovative sales strategy. Instead of going with the usual price tag of $20 or less, he did something different. Nipsey teamed up with the folks at Marathon Agency to launch Proud to Pay campaign. He decided to sell 1,000 CDs of his mixtape for $100 each, and at the same time, give people the opportunity to download the entire album digitally for free. Many people at the time believed it would be a commercial failure, but Nipsey had unwavering confidence in this strategy. And you know what? He proved everyone wrong. One of my mentors suggested I read a book called Contagious. In the second chapter, a restaurant owner created the first $100 Philly cheesesteak and got ridiculed, but got a ton of prominent people interested, Nipsey said in an interview with Forbes. It's time we acknowledge what we all know. The music is free. We shouldn't force people to buy it. What we should do is create different methods to monetize the connection. Nipsey came up with a strategy that rewarded those who bought the physical copy of his mixtape with unique benefits, such as priority access to new material and exclusive concerts, one-of-a-kind gifts, and appreciation in value due to rarity. He developed a utility-based system that bears a striking resemblance to today's NFTs. But get this, he did all of these years before NFTs became a buzz. In less than 24 hours, he sold every single one of the 1,000 copies he had, making a jaw-dropping $100,000 in just one day, with even Jay-Z buying 100 copies. Lauren. Of course, it would be unfair to talk about Nipsey's life without mentioning the remarkable woman who stood by his side until the very end. Back in 2013, Nipsey started dating the talented actress Lauren London. According to an interview with GQ, Lauren was introduced to Nipsey through a mutual friend when she wanted to purchase some copies of his Crenshaw mixtape as a present for her co-stars in the TV show The Game. Lauren followed Nipsey on Instagram after getting her hands on those mixtapes. And guess what? Nipsey noticed and decided to slide into her DMs. Smooth move, right? Initially, Lauren was skeptical about him, but her friends, who had hung out with Nip, always came back saying that he seemed like her type. But it wasn't until one day when he saw her again in Crenshaw that he asked her to hang out. She accepted, and as London described it, from there, it was just easy. It felt so natural for us to be in each other's lives. Their relationship was always described as a genuine and pure connection, one where they constantly inspired each other. And in 2016, after 3 beautiful years together, their joy multiplied when they welcomed their son, Cross. The rise of the marathon. The following year, Nipsey released his mixtape, Mailbox Money, using his crowd-to-pay strategy. He sold another 1,000 CDs for $100 and hooked fans up with tickets to an exclusive listening party for his highly anticipated album, Victory Lap. Let's take a rewind to 2013, when in an interview with Forbes, Nip revealed his ambitious plan of owning 10 marathon stores across different parts of the globe. He said, "If I have 10 marathon stores in different parts of the globe, and I drop 1,000 units to each store at $100 each, I'll make $1 million as soon as we sell out the first 10,000. Then, we continue to fulfill orders, which generate cash on the books with no distribution fee. That's a different model, and we're in a position to do that." While still cooking up his debut album, Victory Lap, in June 2017, Nipsey opened the Marathon clothing store with his brother, Samuel, Karen Civil, and Steve Carless, right at the corner of Flossin Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard. The Marathon clothing store wasn't your typical retail spot. He called it a smart store, and it was more than just a place to cop fresh gear. He wanted to give his most loyal fans exclusive consumption of his music and clothing content through an app. Nipsey's vision for the Marathon clothing store was to become the first hip-hop artist that was vertically integrated, providing a total retail experience that they could control. Soon, several lucrative partnership offers began to come in, but the company passed up the opportunities to stay true to its vision. Then, out of the blue, the perfect opportunity came knocking on our door, aligning flawlessly with what Nipsey had in mind. The Marathon clothing had an alliance with Puma. See how Nipsey's momentum generated excitement and interest that stretched beyond music? One of the things that Nipsey wanted established from the get-go was that it wasn't just him being involved with Puma in the capacity of an endorser, says Jorge Peniche, brand manager of the Marathon clothing. It was us being involved with Puma. He always put his brands in front of everything he did. It was always the Marathon clothing in collaboration with Puma. He didn't want it to be Nipsey Hussle in partnership with Puma. That same year, he partnered with Atlantic Records while preparing to release his highly anticipated debut album, Victory Lap. Finally, in 2018, the wait was over and the album was ready to make waves. Victory Lap became an instant success, catapulting him to the top of global charts and reaching number 4 on the Billboard 200. In its first week, the album sold a staggering 53,000 units, further solidifying Nipsey's reputation and securing a nomination for Best Rap Album at the 61st Annual Grammy Awards in 2019. Though the Grammys didn't hand him the trophy, it was still a personal triumph for Nipsey. He revealed that the album was a personal reflection of his journey and a reminder that he had followed his vision and delivered. Victory Lap represented what he always believed was possible: to achieve success on his own terms. Neighborhood Nip. Nip never forgot where he came from, holding his hood close to his heart, which earned him the affectionate nickname, Neighborhood Nip. After returning from Africa, he gained a new perspective on life and a wave of inspiration to positively impact the world. So, he decided to give back to his people by focusing on reducing gang violence and providing solutions and inspiration to young black men in the hoods. His music also evolved. He left behind the raw lyrics that reflected his past life in a violent gang and embraced motivation and self-improvement.
I used to get on camera and talk about street shit, gang culture. Right. And then I get to my show and everybody want to show me that they hard. I'm like, damn, I'm putting out an energy through these interviews. It's showing back up in my show. So that's when I decided I'm gonna speak what I want to see. And I started talking about business, opportunity, and progress, and optimism. And I saw that. come back to me also.
Nip turned his Marathon clothing store into a mixed-use property to provide affordable housing for locals in the Hyde Park neighborhood, and also opened establishments where he hired the homeless and most vulnerable people. Despite not having a solid academic background, he opened a co-working space called Vector 90. This inspiring venture became the launchpad for the groundbreaking project known as Too Big to Fail, a dynamic STEM center right in the heart of Crenshaw, designed specifically to empower and educate young Black minds in technical sciences, technology, and mathematics. The things that Nip stood for are foreign in our communities: economic empowerment, enlightenment, growth mentally, spiritually, intellectually, entrepreneurship, spiritual awareness. A lot of these things aren't really taught to us in the way that he presented it to the world, DJ Head said. He also contributed to improving Crenshaw schools by buying shoes for students, fixing basketball courts, renovating playgrounds, and funding funerals for local families and victims of gun violence. The love he received from his community was unparalleled, and he even got recognized by community activist Malik Spellman for his instrumental role in fighting gentrification and gang violence. The marathon continues. March 31st, 2019. A dark date for many still. Nipsey Hussle, just 33 years old, was tragically shot and killed outside the parking lot of his Marathon clothing store in Los Angeles. He'd been standing with two friends when a former acquaintance, Eric Holder, approached them and opened fire multiple times. Nipsey was rushed to the hospital, but succumbed to his injuries and died at 3:55 p.m. According to witnesses, he'd had a verbal exchange with Holder before the event. Justice prevailed when Eric Holder was found guilty of first-degree murder on July 6, 2022. And on February 22, 2023, he was sentenced to 60 years in prison. A tough pill to swallow, but Hussle had been scheduled the day after he passed to meet with the LAPD and Roc Nations to tackle gang violence. The news shocked everyone, leaving his community and the rap scene devastated. Crenshaw had just lost his prodigal son in the very place where he was born and dedicated to building up. Many people took to social media to pay respects to Hussle, and several songs were dedicated to his memory and legacy. Recognizing Nipsey's activism, former President Barack Obama said, "While most folks look at the Crenshaw neighborhood where he grew up and see only gangs, bullets, and despair, Nipsey saw potential." Lauren London, his girlfriend, gave an emotional tribute at his memorial. "I've never felt this type of pain before. I know everyone is hurting," Lauren said as she fought not to break down. "We know what Nip meant to us. We lost an incredible soul. We lost someone very rare to us, and we lost a real one, and we won't ever be the same." Lauren's voice grew stronger as she began channeling Hussle's words. "He always used to say this," she said. "The game is gonna test you. Never fold. Stay 10 toes down. It's not on you, it's in you. And what's in you, they can't take away. And he is in all of us." Hand on heart, she concluded.
Ermias, the love of my life, you know what it is. Grief is the final act of love. My heart hears you. I feel you everywhere. I'm so grateful that I had you. I love you beyond this earth. And until we meet again, the marathon continues.
In his own words, the highest human act is to inspire. Nipsey Hussle.